I want to start this TED Talk by telling you all a story about coffee, and in particular about the implementation of fair trade coffee in my school. So for all of those here who don't know what fair trade coffee is, it is coffee that has basically been certified as having been produced under fair trade standards. And what that means is that workers at fair trade plantations get paid fair wages and work in good conditions. So the implementation of this didn't follow a linear path, and making a change rarely does. So in 2012, the Student Council, along with TEDxUWCSEA, which is the caterer of our school, implemented fair trade coffee along with regular coffee in our school. Now, we were all really excited about this because it fit in so beautifully with what our school stands for, and that's about bringing positive change in the world and making a difference. And so keeping these ideals in mind, we worked really hard to implement it. And after a month's test run, we were all super excited to see what the results were. So I, along with the other members of the Student Council, had our first meeting with TEDxUWCSEA to discuss how fair trade was going. And unfortunately, this is what they told us. So what they told us was that for every 1 cup of fair trade coffee sold, 20 cups of normal coffee were sold. And so basically what they were saying was that the whole project failed and that we need to shut it down. Now, this was a big shocker, and that was mainly because I thought that our school really believed in the principle of making the world better, and obviously that wasn't being done here, because everyone was just buying normal coffee instead of fair trade coffee. So when we asked them why they thought it was because, they said that that's because fair trade coffee costs 50 cents more than normal coffee. And that just told me that 50 cents can make a difference here. And 50 cents caused people to turn from fair trade coffee to normal coffee. But rather than this being the end of a sad story, it is the start of one that demonstrates how we can, by reaching out, create a positive difference in the world. So the Student Council, keeping this in mind, what we did was we started advertising a potential plan for the permanent implementation of fair trade coffee. Now, there was some initial criticism about the increase in price, but after telling the people all the obvious benefits that come with fair trade coffee, and after showing them how it fits in perfectly with the values of our school, we managed to convince the majority. And on the 12th of November 2012, we sent out a survey regarding the permanent implementation of fair trade coffee. And fortunately, it passed. And today I'm proud to say that our school only serves fair trade coffee in its canteens. And this was a great accomplishment. So I want to tell you 3 things that I learned from this experience. So the first thing I learned is that if something is ever done halfway or half-heartedly, it can never be successful. And this was a case of TEDxUWCSEA implementing fair trade coffee along with normal coffee. A halfway measure never really goes far. Then the second thing I learned is that the views of the society will always represent the outcome. And in this case, even though there was some initial criticism at the start, by reminding the people of the values of the school and all the benefits of fair trade coffee, we managed to convince them and get the poll passed. And finally, the third and the most important thing that I learned from this was that the pressure to change the world and make it a better place cannot just be placed upon the producer. We as consumers can't put all the pressure on producers to change the world without changing our own principles first. The Fair Trade Initiative only worked when both consumers, in this case the staff and the students, and the producers, in this case TEDxUWCSEA, worked together to make it happen. So a lot of you are probably thinking that the change of one type of beverage in one school, in one country, may seem quite a trivial gesture in a world of billions of products and people. But it is a step in the right direction. Now, a lot of us, at least in this school, have been put up against all these multinational corporations such as Nike that don't always produce the most socially responsible products. And they have sweatshops in many countries such as Bangladesh, and we're all obviously opposed to this. And the polls that have been conducted regarding that are similar to the fair trade coffee polls. Most of the people agree that this shouldn't be done. But then again, their sales are just as high. Now, there's definitely some contrast over here. People are saying that this shouldn't be done, yet they're buying their products. This hypocrisy of consumers is definitely something is not working. And so we consumers are equally responsible for all the devastating effects that companies, for example, Nike, are causing. And so it's a shared responsibility. So we need to change if we want the producers to change as well. So let's see what we're doing to the world right now. Here's a picture of a sweatshop in Bangladesh. And by endorsing companies that do engage in such activities, we are essentially causing this to happen. We are fueling the demand for such things in the world, and something needs to change. Now, I'm no economist, but it doesn't take an economist to see that something is not working. We need to change, and we as consumers need to change. So let's analyze this for a minute. Now, it seems quite alien to me as someone who comes from a school that believes in working together and helping others, that our contemporary system of commerce and finance are so heavily dictated by the ideas of individual gain and detached autonomy. And perhaps this was better said by Adam Smith, the father of economics, when he said, "If you continue to operate in your own self-interest, you will do the best good for society." And this way of thinking pretty much determines how you and I engage in our day-to-day activities and is now called capitalism. Today, my talk is about how we need to change our economic model from a me-based model to an us-based model, and why this change is not only important, but it is necessary. So let me give you an example of my mom buying my clothes. So when my mom goes shopping to buy my clothes, I'm not 18 yet, so this is fine. She judges them based on 3 criteria. And here are these 3 criteria: price, quality, and need. And these are pretty much all the 3 criteria all of us consumers use when judging our products. Beyond the price tag, my mom doesn't really care about how this product was made or where it came from. As long as the product satisfies the customer's needs, all the other concerns regarding its production are put to the peripheries of our consciousness. So I'm afraid to say that these 3 criteria are simply not good enough. We need a 4th criteria, and this 4th criteria is social responsibility. We need to not only be happy with the products we buy, but we also need to take into account where they came from or how they were made. When asking ourselves, how much do I want this product, we need to consider everything. A simple number on a receipt cannot encompass all the aforementioned factors. And it is our responsibility as consumers to take this into account. Consumers can no longer be bystanders and put all the pressure on producers to make sustainable products, because the only power we have is the power of choice. And by not exerting this power of choice on producers and not caring about how our products are produced, why should producers care about how they're produced? We have to change our own ideals in order to expect someone else to change their ideals. So how will we make this happen? Well, we will make this happen by redefining our values and supporting companies that do make socially responsible products and taking a stand against ones that don't. But now the question is, can we make this change? Do we have the power to make this change? Well, yes, we do. Consumer spending, no matter which country you look at, you can look at the United States, Singapore, China, or any other country for that matter. Consumer spending is always the highest contributor to GDP, and it is more than investment spending and government spending. And what this means is that us consumers have more economic power than governments and companies. So we literally can make this change happen if we want to. But why should we make this change happen? Well, global warming, poverty, pollution, these are all real things. They're all tangible, and they all have many detrimental effects. And lots of data does suggest that these effects will only get worse. So we have to change our values because we have to protect our future. And I'm sure that we want to protect our future. We are currently living in the 21st century. And it is a time when everything is changing. And it is changing at a rate that has never been experienced before. We are essentially laying the groundwork for future generations to follow. By changing our principles today, we will ensure that they carry on to the future. Now, I want to go back to what Adam Smith said, and I want to think about his economic model. Now, I think that he must have been so satisfied by the elegant convenience that it provided when describing how an economy functions with so many individual actors that perhaps he forgot to consider its shortcomings. But fortunately for us, John Nash, another Nobel laureate, saw this and said, Adam Smith said that the best result comes when everyone in the group does what's best for himself, right? Well, Adam Smith was wrong. The best result comes when everyone does what's best for themselves and the group. So why don't we all today do what's best for ourselves and the world? Let's take a stand against companies that are not producing sustainable products and support companies that are. Thank you very much.